At 78, Marta sold her suburban semi-detached and commissioned a project that local contractors called pure lunacy. She didn't want a retirement home, she wanted a sanctuary carved into the very bones of the earth. Today, her Cave of Curiosities stands as a viral marvel, proving that home isn't just where the heart is, it's where the bedrock begins. The old woman had spent most of her life in ordinary houses, square rooms, flat ceilings, creaky staircases, and gardens that always needed more work than she had energy for. So, she decided she did not want another ordinary home. She wanted something quieter, cooler, stranger, and a little magical. She hired builders, designers, and a stonemason who understood that she did not want to destroy the cave's character. She wanted to tame it gently. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Months later, the Rocky Hollow had become a real home, a warm, glowing, surprisingly comfortable house carved into the earth itself. And once the front door opens, the little cave in the hill stops looking simple. The first few steps inside are the part Marta loved most. Visitors always slow down there, as if their bodies know they are entering somewhere unusual before their minds catch up. The walls curve naturally around them, rough in some places, smooth in others, with tiny lights tucked into the stone like hidden fireflies. Instead of a normal hallway, Marta has created a gentle passage that bends slightly to the left. That small curve makes the entrance feel mysterious. You can't see the whole house at once, you have to follow it one step at a time, while the temperature drops just enough to make the outside world feel far away. There is a wooden bench built against the wall, polished from use, where Marta keeps a pair of old walking shoes, a basket of scarves, and a small brass hook for her keys. Above it hangs one framed photograph, Marta as a young woman standing beside a mountain road with her hair whipping across her face. The builders suggested smoothing the entrance completely, but Marta refused. She wants people to remember where they are, so a few ridges of stone remain visible, running across the ceiling like frozen waves. It makes the entrance feel less like a hallway and more like the beginning of an adventure. The living room is where everyone expects the cave fantasy to become uncomfortable. Surely it would be cold. Surely it would echo. Surely there would be some strange smell of stone and moisture. Instead, it feels like stepping into the coziest room in the world. Marta has placed a deep cream-colored sofa against one curved wall, with soft cushions stacked messily at the corners. A thick rug covers the floor, and a low wooden table sits in the center, usually carrying a teapot, a half-finished crossword, and a plate of biscuits she insists are for guests. The ceiling dips low near the back, making the room feel protected rather than cramped. Warm lamps bounce light against the stone, turning the cave walls gold in the evenings. During winter, Marta lights a small stove built into a stone alcove, and the whole room glows like a lantern. But the real magic is the front window. Instead of cutting a huge modern opening into the rock, Marta chose one wide, rounded window that looked out over the valley. From her sofa, she can watch rain move across the hills, birds dart through the morning mist, and children on bicycles slow down outside her strange little home. They always look twice. Marta's kitchen is not large, but it is the room that makes people smile first. It has the cheerful practicality of a grandmother's kitchen and the odd beauty of something built around a secret. The counters follow the natural curve of the cave wall, which means nothing is perfectly straight. One shelf leans slightly into the stone. One corner has been left untouched because Marta likes the shape of the rock there. That, she tells visitors, tapping it proudly, is my decoration. There are copper pans hanging from black hooks, jars of dried herbs lined along a wooden shelf, and a small round table where Marta eats breakfast every morning. She insisted on a proper oven because, cave or no cave, she knew she wasn't giving up baking. On Sundays, the smell of bread drifts out through the front door and into the lane, confusing anyone who expects a cave to smell like moss and mystery. The builders wanted to hide most of the stone behind panels. Marta said no again, so the kitchen became a mix of old and new. Smooth cabinets, soft lighting, rough rock, and a little window above the sink where a few pots of basil tried their best to grow. It is not sleek, it is not showroom perfect, it is better than that. It looks lived in. Marta's bedroom sits deeper inside the cave, where the outside noise barely reaches. There are no traffic sounds here, no barking dogs from the road, no neighbor's radio drifting through an open window. There is only a soft hush that makes even the smallest movement feel gentle. The bed rests inside a rounded stone alcove, almost as if the cave itself has made space for it. Pale linen sheets cover the mattress. A thick quilt lies folded at the end, and 2 reading lamps cast warm circles of light against the rock. Above the bed, the natural ceiling curves downward slightly, creating the strange but comforting feeling of sleeping inside a protective shell. At first, Marta's friends worried that it might feel too closed in. Marta says they do not understand. Most bedrooms pretend to be peaceful, she tells them. This one actually is. She keeps the room simple: 1 wardrobe, 1 chair, 1 woven basket for blankets, and a small shelf of books she rereads whenever the weather turns dramatic. The only striking feature is a narrow slit window near the ceiling, cut carefully through the rock to catch the first light of morning. At sunrise, a thin beam of gold slips across the wall and lands on the floor beside her bed. Marta calls it her natural alarm clock. She sleeps better here than she ever has. The bathroom sits behind a heavy wooden door that looks as if it belongs in an old cottage, not inside a cave. Push it open, and the space feels almost unreal. The walls are still stone, but they feel lighter here, softened by steam, candles, and carefully placed mirrors. A simple walk-in shower fits into the curve of the cave, with water falling against dark tiles that look like wet river rock. The sink rests on a chunky wooden counter, and beside it, Marta keeps a tiny vase with 1 fresh flower whenever the garden allows it. There is no harsh bathroom lighting. Marta hates that. Instead, small warm lights glow low along the wall, giving the room a spa-like feeling without making it look cold or showy. The most surprising detail is the bathtub. It is not enormous, not dramatic, and not one of those tubs designed only for magazine photos. It is deep, simple, and placed near a small arched opening that looks out toward a private patch of greenery. In summer, Marta opens the little window and listens to insects hum while she soaks her feet. At the back of the cave home, a small reading nook waits inside a side chamber. It is just large enough for an armchair, a lamp, a narrow bookshelf, and a blanket that seems permanently draped over one arm of the chair. The ceiling is lowest here, and the stone walls wrap around the space so closely that visitors almost whisper without meaning to. Marta uses the nook as her personal hiding place from the world. The bookshelf holds old novels, travel guides, a bird-watching book, and a few notebooks filled with recipes, memories, and ideas she never bothers to organize. On rainy afternoons, she sits here with tea and listens to the water tap softly somewhere beyond the rock. That is the thing about the cave. It never feels completely silent. It has tiny sounds like drips, creaks, distant wind, or the faint shift of earth cooling after a hot day. Marta finds those sounds comforting. They remind her that the house is not just built on the land, it is part of it. And in this little nook, with a blanket around her knees and a book in her lap, Marta feels as if she has finally found the room she has been looking for her entire life. The final surprise waits outside again. Behind the cave, reached through a narrow side door, a small stone terrace sits inside the slope of the hill. From the road, nobody sees it. From the terrace, Marta sees almost everything: the fields, the village rooftops, the walking path, and the little bend where people usually stop to stare at her front door. It is her quiet joke with the world. Everyone thinks the cave hides her away, but from this terrace, Marta sees more than most people do. She keeps 2 chairs here, though she lives alone. One is for herself, and one is for whoever might visit. A small table sits between them, usually carrying lemonade in summer or tea in winter. Around the edges, lavender, thyme, and hardy flowers grow from the rocky soil. In the evening, the cave holds the day's coolness while the sky turns pink above the valley. Marta sits outside and looks out from the home everyone once told her not to build. They imagined darkness. She built warmth. They imagined loneliness. She created a place people begged to visit. They imagined a cave. Marta imagined a second life. And then, stubbornly, beautifully, she moved into it.